Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I have props. I have props today because today is our 800th program. Woo-hoo!
Confetti and everything.
Confetti and everything. You know, don't you love it when the office shredder is close by, right? So you know, when I counted,
this is a big deal. This is a big. I'm going to say this. I'm going to pause for a minute. Deb Creer, 800 episodes is amazing. You know, there's no shortage of people around the world who jumped on the podcasting bandwagon. You are a pioneer of this. You have been doing this and sharing information about helping businesses do business better, raise their profile for so many years. Back in the time when we called it radio.
I know, when we went in the studio and had the headsets and all of those things.
Yeah, and everything else. So anyway, I know this is your show, but I'm just pausing because for all of your listeners, and all your viewers, I on behalf of all of them, I want to say congratulations. 800 is a massive accomplishment. A fraction of 1% of podcasters will ever get to 800 episodes. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you. And you know, it's all because I have absolutely fantastic guests. People always say, why do you do this? And I say, because I get to talk to the coolest people in the world. And when I was counting up and realized, oh my gosh, we've got 800 this year. Who do we need? And coincidentally, your lovely folks reached out to me and said, hey, we want Dave on the program again, because you've been on several times.
Yeah, but it's been a while.
And I went, oh, I have a space exactly for Dave, because you have such great information. We have such great fun chatting. You just had to be guest number 800.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, you and I have a really fascinating history way back in I mean, I'll be 59 years old this year. And when I was in my 20s, you and I served on committees together for, was it the
American Cancer Society.
American Cancer Society.
Yeah, that's how we met long ago. And
we were doing advocacy work way back when we were just children.
I know.
When
you know, the hair really was its real color, and
yeah, mine not so gray. So I've actually loved watching you grow in your business skills and acumen and communication as well. And so looking forward to it. Thank you. And I'm honored to be on your 800th episode.
Well, you know, it really is fabulous. And you know, it's been great to watch your career take off also. I mean, you know, it has been just absolutely wonderful. And we're going to talk a lot about that, but it's really been fun to see just how, you know, and so I can say, well, I knew Dave way back when.
It's kind of fun as I watch a lot of people in media on all aspects. And some people, because I'm based in Denver, and some of them who are on our local stations are now doing huge work nationally with the national networks, and Tom Costello at NBC and Kevin Cork is over at Fox. And we all grew up together in this business. So it's kind of nice watching many of our colleagues as we spread around the country doing different things. And now we've got kids.
I know.
I've got two of my daughters are in doing digital media, and my oldest has been producing out in West Hollywood for years. My youngest is heading off to college. So one of the things that I think you do very well is that whole idea of, for those of us who've enjoyed a measure of success, it's important that we send the elevator back down. What you have done with 800 episodes and all of your work is you're mentoring a new generation of business leaders. And so it's kind of nice for us. Now we're the old guard.
I know.
Helping others as well. And I do that on stage around the world and speaking and consulting. So it's kind of nice watching us go through our progressions, but we're in that position now where we're helping others build their
which we should be doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. And of course, the funny thing is to think about how in the last 30 years, technology has changed. Oh my gosh, you know, it's just incredible. Remember, we used to send out press releases, we mailed them.
Yes, we
They
did.
had photos in there, real photos, and you put the information on the back so that if the photo got separated. And now, does anybody do
No,
that?
no. But it's just not how it's done. I mean,
Right.
what's interesting is there is no shortage of media. I think there's
Mhm.
a tremendous shortage of impartial media,
Right.
and that's been a significant change. But how we pitch, how we connect,
Mhm.
how we communicate, how we
Mhm.
complain,
Mhm.
everything has changed.
Right.
I wrote a blog the other day, excuse me, that imagine somebody like some guy in 1972 is caught up in this virtual vortex and he's transported into 2022,
Mhm.
50 years later.
Mhm.
He wouldn't survive a week. He would
No.
literally starve.
Mhm.
He wouldn't know how to buy things
Right.
or ask
Especially if he had
things
to check out
or
himself.
right or call. I mean, you had
Mhm.
no idea what an internet was. A
Mhm.
telephone was something that
Right.
was tethered to the wall,
Mhm.
and right, you could only walk as far as the cord,
Mhm.
or something that my mom would smack us with if we were
Mhm.
being a little mouthy or something else.
Yep.
It's it's transformed. For me,
Mhm.
this is very exciting because
Right.
I think for those businesses that embrace
Mhm.
all of these new wonderful mechanisms for communicating and buying and tracking,
Mhm.
uh, I think the future is really, really bright.
Mhm.
For those who are resistant,
Mhm.
I think it's very bleak.
They won't make it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, we jumped right into this, and I didn't even
Yeah.
read your bio, so I guess we should backtrack just a
Okay.
smidge.
Sure.
One of the most in-demand customer experience speakers and consultants in the world today, and yes, he does travel worldwide, Dave Avrin, CSP, Global Speaking Fellow, has shared his content-rich, entertaining, and actionable presentations with enthusiastic audiences across North America and in 24 countries around the world. Dave helps organizations better understand and connect with their changing customers and clients to help future proof their business, which is exactly what we've been talking about. And he does have a new book out. It's fun. I was, before I'm going to be Vanna. So, here are the books that I have that Dave wrote. But he has a new book called The Morning Huddle: Powerful Customer Experience Conversations to Wake You Up, Shake You Up, and Win More Business. Okay, now we can get back to having the fun part. Now that people know who the
Anyway,
heck
thank
you
you.
are.
Good morning. Thanks for having me
Yes,
on the
so
show.
glad you're able to join us
We'll just
today.
call the first part a tease. That was a
This is it.
tease.
This is
And then we
it.
went to commercial, and then we
Yeah,
came back,
yeah.
and
We
we're
came back,
sitting
and
on the
here we are.
cozy set. Yes.
Yep, yep. So, it as we were saying, it's been such a change with how people communicate. And for businesses, that really is, it's, it can totally obliterate them, or it can make them incredibly
Sure.
successful.
Yeah.
And I think we really saw that during COVID. That really came out. But even before then, people were like, "Oh, do I really need to have a business paid? What do you mean people can check out on their own? Well, can't they just call and leave messages? I mean, all these various things. And so you talk about not customer service, but the customer experience. So talk to us a little bit about, and then we'll really dive into it. But what
Sure.
is the customer experience?
Well, I think it's really important to understand the difference between the two. Certainly related, but the customer service is something that we deliver.
Right.
Those of us in business, we're delivering it to others. But my God, we've been talking about this for 50 years.
Mhm.
If you don't know how to be nice to people,
Right.
I mean, it's fairly basic. It's one of those things that it's simple, but
Mhm.
it's not easy, right? We have
Mhm.
to educate a new generation of
Mhm.
workers. We have to help them understand our culture.
Mhm.
But that delivery is fairly straightforward. I
Mhm.
mean, you either do it or you don't. You have a culture for it or you don't.
Right.
The experience is very, very different because
Mhm.
it's as customers,
Mhm.
as clients, as constituents, how do we receive that? How do
Right.
we perceive that?
Mhm.
And what's interesting today is think about how many of those interactions, those transactions today don't involve a person at
Right.
all. So
Mhm.
customer service doesn't even come
I
into it.
know. It's
Right?
very strange that there's no people attached to so many things.
Yeah, and it's very convenient for many
Mhm.
of us. But the challenge is when we go so far to that direction that
Mhm.
we eliminate and extract people from
Right.
the process, that it doesn't give us an option.
Mhm.
But I'll give you an example. So I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of CEO roundtable groups
Mhm.
over the years, and there's always invariably there's a banker or somebody in financial
Mhm.
services, and I would ask them the question, "What is your competitive advantage? Why you?"
Mhm.
And I always get the same answer 100% of the time.
Mhm.
It's this, right? It's the
Right.
relationship.
Mhm.
we know our customers by name. And I say, okay, so what happens when 95% of my transactions are on my phone? Right. I speak for a living, right? I speak at a gig. They give me a nice check. I sit in the back of the Uber. I sign it. I take a picture of it and I deposit it. My daughter was off at college. She needed money, right? She just texts me. Right.
Yeah.
And by the way,
who the heck is a bank teller?
her ringtone is a cash register sound.
Oh, cute.
She was home over Christmas and you hear this cha-ching. She goes, "What was that?" I said, "Apparently it was you texting me from the couch." She said, "Yeah, a cash register, really?" I said, "Well, generally you want money. What do you want, Sydney?" She goes, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah, she wanted money, right?
But here's what's interesting. None of those transactions involve somebody asking, "So what are your plans for the weekend?" Right. So banks are scrambling to redefine what they think their competitive advantage is. Now, we are still experiencing doing business with a bank, but now it's UX. Right. CX is that customer experience. UX is the user experience. How fast, how intuitive. If I put in my username and my password and I get one letter wrong in my password, do I have to type in my username again? So frustrating, right? Hashtag first world problems. But a problem in the mind of your customers is a problem. So what we're seeing for companies from a customer experience perspective is they're getting very granular. They're looking at every point of contact along that customer journey, and they're asking the question, could that be done better or faster or smarter or more simplified? And the companies who are doing that well, who are becoming, here's my whole mantra. The key to success, the key beyond quality, I mean, don't take your eye off the ball, but it's not a differentiator anymore. Everybody's good, at least good enough, right? The companies that are consciously becoming ridiculously easy to do business with, those are the ones that are going to survive and thrive in the years to come.
Yeah, because we all have choices. And
so
if
many
it's
choices.
easy, hard, even if hard might be less expensive, better quality, any of those things, I'm quite often going to pick the easy option.
Yeah, well, people pay more. I mean, there's actual studies. Here's one of the things that Jeff Bezos does very well, in addition to a lot of things he does well. And I'm probably going to get the statistic wrong, but it's something like this. You ever look at an Amazon page and you have an item that you're looking at, but if you scroll down, you see rows and rows of similar items that they're suggesting. But you ever notice that you see the same item like once in every single row? Like
and in tiny little print, it might say sponsored or something.
Yeah, or something, right. But if you look really closely, what they do is, and this is all AI, this big data. Each one has a little bit of a different deal. And so the study shows something like, and I'm going to get it wrong, that people are willing to pay like 13 to 18% more for the same item just to get it one day earlier. Even if they didn't need it one day earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So we are prioritizing speed, flexibility, accommodation, and number one, convenience. Today, for the first time in history, convenient is better than being better. Is better than quality. Quality is assumed. We ask business leaders all the time, say, what's your secret sauce? And they always say quality, commitment, caring, trust, people. The research shows something very different today. People are prioritizing speed and convenience, assuming quality, speed and convenience. So part of the work that I'm doing is helping them recognize ways that they are inadvertently frustrating their customers. And as I said, becoming ridiculously easy to do business with.
And a big part of this is knowing exactly who you are trying to serve. And I talk about this probably every single program where, and it doesn't matter what the guest is talking about. Somehow we get this in there, is knowing what your niche is, because that's absolutely critical. And I always love it when, I say, so Dave, who's your target audience? And you smile at me and you say, everybody.
Yeah.
And of course it's not. And it's especially important with the customer experience, because demographics, can really do so much stuff. I was sitting
People want different things, right?
Yeah. And they have different skill levels, all of those things. So like my mother, bless her, she turned 90 this week. And still lives alone, still very independent.
Wonderful.
But has some vision problems, but she has a smartphone. I love it. She has this smartphone. But for her, because she has vision problems, companies that are saying the only way you can deal with us is mobile. She can't
Right.
do.
Right. That's
She even
true.
has trouble with her computer, even though she has a big monitor. She has all sorts of adaptations, things like that. She just and she wants to talk to a person.
Yeah.
For her, that is the really big thing. So, like during COVID, she absolutely refused to do digital doctor appointments. She wanted to go in and see those doctors, and sometimes they told her no. I mean, at the very start, they had to.
Sure.
But yeah, many times if she can't talk to a person, she's not going to order. And of course, she hates like the line at Walmart where you check out by yourself and all those. And
Oh, I
part
hate
of
it.
that, yeah,
I think I'm your mother.
yeah, but she wants to
Yeah.
talk to the people. She wants you said it at the very start. She wants to be able to say, "How are you? How's your day going today?"
Yeah.
And just those extra little things.
I got to tell you, when companies reduce the options or they create, and this happened a lot during COVID, they created ways, this whole touchless tomorrow, right?
Yeah, and
But
they kind of had to. We all
they
went,
had
"Ooh,
to.
cooties."
However, I was in Nashville last week, and we were with some friends at a really nice restaurant, and we asked for the menu, and they said, "No, it's a QR code."
Oh,
And I said, I get
mm-mm.
that. I said, I'm 59 years old. I can't see
Mhm.
this. It's too small. Do you have an actual menu? And they said,
Mhm.
no. And I said, you don't have a menu at all. It's on the QR code.
Mhm.
And I had the same situation. I was in, we had sold our house. We were buying a new house. And I needed to get some papers notarized. I was at Wells Fargo. I'll say who they are. It's my bank.
Mhm.
And I went in there to get some papers notarized. And the
Mhm.
person was 6 feet away.
Mhm.
And I said, are they available for notarization? Absolutely. But you
Mhm.
need to check in on our digital waiting list. And I said, is there anybody waiting? And she said, no, but you have to. I said, well, can I just go over?
Mhm.
And she says, I'm
No.
so sorry. You can't. You have to scan this and get on the digital wait. Well, I couldn't get it to work. And then they couldn't get it to work. So I'm standing
Oh
off the side
no.
and I'm there 20 minutes. I'm getting really, really frustrated. But as a speaker and a consultant, we don't have bad things happen to us. We just get new stories to tell.
Right.
So I just sat back and I thought, I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna imagine my wife telling me to calm down,
Mhm.
and I'm just gonna watch. I'm going to find out if there's a way I can get this done, because there's a lesson in here.
Mhm.
And I kept trying, and person after person kept going in front of me, getting on there, getting their stuff done. So I'm standing off the side, no furniture, because they said they couldn't have it yet because of COVID.
Mhm.
And so a manager walked by and said, are you being helped? And I said, no. And he said, what's that? I said, I need to talk to that person 7 feet away. And they will not let me unless I go on the digital waiting list, and it won't work on my phone. And he just throws up his hands and goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Come with me. And sat me down. Right. And it's just I understand wonderful conveniences. In many ways, COVID accelerated what
Right.
small
Oh,
men
yeah.
predicted about how we're going to do business. But the companies that use those cost savings, those conveniences to reduce other services are making a huge mistake.
Mhm.
Huge mistake. The future, of course, is omni-channel. And omni-channel is give us every way somebody wants to reach out to you, give them that opportunity. I don't expect I can get my hair cut at 3:00 in the morning,
Right.
but I certainly expect I can make an appointment to do so.
Right.
Right. And so I hate chatbots. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. But I understand them. Just give me an off ramp to a real person.
Right.
I'm at Walmart and I got groceries overflowing, and I go to the front and they direct me to self checkout. And I'm thinking, I don't work here.
Right.
I don't say that out loud because
Yeah,
it sounds
I'm sorry, I
dismissive.
don't get a W-2 from you.
Yeah. And it sounds dismissive, but the reality is I'm horrible at it. Every item is an unexpected item in the bagging area. And they say, no, we give you choices. It's not a choice. You got one staff checkout lane with 9 people in line and 24 self-checkout. This is how companies are doing it wrong. Now, granted, what do I know more than Walmart? What I know is at some point the bean counters are gonna start going too far. And the cost savings and firing too many checkers at some point, what do they call it? The law of diminishing return.
Right.
At some point, we'll get so frustrated by the lack of options that we just go somewhere else.
Right.
And then the pendulum will start to swing.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the favorite pictures that I see, and I see it fairly often on Facebook, which means it is something that hits home with people, is the picture with the little child, 3-ish, throwing a tantrum, holding the phone, saying, real person.
Yeah,
so
that's
they've
me.
called into something
That's
and they
me.
cannot get a real person. Yeah. And I'm like pounding on the zero and doing anything I possibly can to try and get a real person. And then, of course, by the time I actually get a real person, I forget why I called.
Right. And I understand this whole rash of new conveniences. I love it. I mean, there's phenomenal ways of reaching out, connecting, but at some point, some of these vendors are convincing others that something's a good idea because it makes their life easier.
Right.
If something makes your life easier as a business person, but by transferring duties to your customer, you got to give that a pause. You go into a doctor's office today and they hand you the electronic device that you were not trained on, by the way,
right.
fill in all so that the receptionist doesn't have to fill in the information. I see. Give it to the lady who's bleeding from the head. Let's make her do the work.
Right.
So that your receptionist doesn't have to enter the information. Come on, friends.
Yeah.
And so I get fired up. And of course, it's what I do on stage. And my stuff, it's really funny. But I use that strategically to temper a pretty tough message about what it takes to compete against the Amazons and and everybody else. And there's great ways to compete. But by doing it by just cutting and cutting and frustrating your customers is a bad strategy.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right. I think the pendulum is going to swing. And I'm hoping that we go back to seeing bookstores, those things you went into and you touched those books, and mom and pop grocery stores and just all of those little things where, you really did go in and talk to people and you knew that, the store owner had 2 dogs and a cat and, just all of those things. But if somebody wants the option to have pre-ordered and you just go in and you pick up your bag, great. That works also. And I don't necessarily think it's a generational thing, because I think we have youngsters who want to go in and visit and want to get to know people and, and they don't want to have to stand there and scan their orange 900 times because the stupid code doesn't work. And so,
I think economics will dictate it. I mean, if there's sufficient, I think there'll be enough entrepreneurial people that will try things, and if there's enough demand for it, it'll happen. But disruption, or I think at some point there'll be some sort of something called an anti-disruption or something as things go back, because there is this nostalgia. I mean, I heard that record albums are making a big comeback, but you wonder if it's going to be sufficient to justify. Because when you look at the disruption, all the disruptions happen. These really brilliant young minds who are rethinking everything. Is that the way it should be done at all? Are disrupting industries. But in almost every single case, we win. As customers, we win, right? Because what wins is something that was better or faster or simpler. I mean, we can lament the loss of Toys R Us, but anybody struggling to find toys today?
No.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. It's only gone because there was something better.
Right.
I saw a
well, you mentioned Toys R Us. I saw a story that says that in time for Christmas, Toys R Us is coming back digital only. And that came out a couple weeks ago,
I wonder, but do you think we've moved on? I think we have.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting news report the other day. So earnings report come out and Bed Bath & Beyond was down for the quarter.
Right.
So there was a representative from Bed Bath & Beyond doing the spin and going on TV saying, we've had challenges like everybody with supply chain, and there's certain items that people couldn't find. And so we've been down. I looked at my wife and I said, that is garbage. That's not why they're down. They're down because we sat in our living room and we bought it from Amazon. That is pure spin. Yep. Nobody's going to Bed Bath & Beyond and struggling to find what they want. They're not going to Bed Bath & Beyond, right? Best Buy, they're treating as a showroom, right? Now, all of that said, we win as consumers, but as business people, it's a challenge. But it's a challenge I'm willing to take on. The clients I'm working with are eagerly embracing the challenge because there are great strategies. There's great off-the-shelf technologies. Everything that we get nowadays, we should be able to track. We should be able to get a notification. If you're in business and people are calling you, checking on the status of their order.
Where's my order?
You're falling behind.
Right.
Because that means something, they had a question, they had a frustration, and they're reaching out. When there are off-the-shelf technologies available right now to keep people informed. So when we think about going back to our earlier conversation about how everything has changed, how we communicate, how we track, how we buy and customize and complain, and everything's different. And if you as a company, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, look at, as you said, right, your ideal customer, your perfect customer. How do they want to do business with you?
Right.
How do they want to talk to you? How do they want to buy and have it delivered, whether it's actual delivery or not? Think that through. But here's an even better exercise. How do you think your customers are going to want to do business with you 2 years from now?
Right.
What do you need to start doing now to prepare for that? Because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. The only question is whether you're going to participate in it.
Right. So do you think there's such a thing as brand loyalty? Or are we really just going, where can I get it faster, cheaper, whatever?
It's a great question. I think there's absolutely brand loyalty. And I disagreed with somebody on a panel the other day, but it's the brands that make it really easy to do business with.
Right.
I love this brand because it's super, super simple. I love this brand because they're super responsive. I love this brand because I can do things in the store and I can also do things offline and I can get something when I'm traveling. I think brand loyalty, is the same basic tenets. We like doing business with them. We're comfortable with that. But the reasons why we're comfortable is different than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
The reasons why a company is preferable is different than it was 10 years ago. And so I think brand loyalty is still a huge thing. Now, if you are a commodity and you're allowing yourself to be a commodity, when we were little kids, commodity was milk and eggs.
Right.
Right.
And
Today,
Tide soap.
And Tide soap, right? Or tires or Scotch tape, right? I guess that's a brand. But today, so many things, as you said, everything's available everywhere. There's so many choices that when we believe that everything's the same, I call this in my sessions, the four most dangerous words in business. The four most dangerous words in business are all things being equal, right? All things being equal, we're going to look for the best price and proximity. Whoever's the cheapest, whoever's the closest. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure that nothing's equal. We can't let everything be equal. Some things will be. And so when so many other things have become commoditized, right? Think about how many things in your house that you can get anywhere. You can get chairs anywhere. You can get food anywhere, right? That brand loyalty comes from the things that really make that company, that brand, that product, that service preferable.
Right.
And consistency is part of it.
Right. And it's funny, you talk about speed. During, right when COVID really got going big, and everything was shut down. And of course, we had to order online. That was the only way to do it. And Amazon had spoiled us before then because, there were many things that I could order. And because I'm in Atlanta, obviously huge distribution area, all sorts of things, I could get things within 4 hours. And again, did I need them? No, but it was pretty cool to order. And
pretty
get it 4 hours
cool.
later,
It is.
right?
I'm telling you.
And then because of COVID, so they had to cut down on what they were doing. Now, obviously they were critical. So their employees came in, but they cut down on employees, and then we had supply chain issues. So you added that all up and oh my gosh, my Amazon 4 hour went to today. And there were times where I was annoyed.
I'm sure you were just like in a flop sweat.
Yeah.
Like just anxiety attack.
Yeah. Because I was so spoiled that I could get it the next day.
Yeah.
And then really when it went to 2 days, it was like, I might as well go to the store because Walmart is 5 minutes away.
Right.
And, especially if it was something that was a little bit more critical. Now I've never done the grocery order thing online.
We do all the time. Yeah. It is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So we had 3 teens home during COVID and eating us out of house and home. So we have to go. We got to go grocery shopping. We would plop down on the couch, pull out the iPad, and next thing we had. I'm dead serious. One time we had $800 in groceries on our front porch.
Oh my gosh!
And it was phenomenal. And so it doesn't mean that we still don't go to the store, but I like your analogy when you said when you had to wait 2 days, then you would go to Walmart. I think that flux will continue. Whichever is the most convenient. If we at that moment value convenience, that will win. And so I've been working with a lot of retail. I do a lot of verticals. I do a lot with hotel and hospitality
Right.
and financial services, but I've been doing a lot with retail and through the Middle East and others as well, shopping malls and in high-end shopping malls and others as well, who were really struggling before COVID because people were buying from Alibaba, they're buying from Amazon and others as well.
Right.
So the question was, how do we bring them back? And so what's really interesting in the conversation is, I think it's a microcosm of what we're seeing globally, which is everybody's becoming everything where it makes sense. So you'll see delivery from the Gap, right? You'll see curbside, Orange Julius.
Right. You're like,
excuse me. Right. But you're also seeing those back rooms being converted into shipping. Right? Stores where they recognize that they are going to be a showroom for people to see and touch and feel, and then buy it online or get it delivered. But they want to be a part of that whole continuum, as opposed to going to Best Buy as a showroom and buying it from Amazon. They want to make sure they're parts of all of it. To me, that's exciting.
Yeah, because it allows them to expand what they're doing. It allows them to be more competitive.
And
now,
to
the tricky thing
participate in everything.
They still have to be able to provide good quality products, all of those various things.
Absolutely.
So if they get too diverse, it doesn't quite make sense. But yeah, it's that's been one of the fun things with COVID. Sure.
Yeah, but I think it's diversity in delivery mechanism, not necessarily in product. But I think it's really important that you said that, because we're not suggesting that everybody has to do everything. It's just, from the customer's perspective, every way that they want to engage with you, allow that if it makes sense. Right. And that's a really interesting, for me, a fascinating shift in business. Right. It's
and restaurants would probably be the biggest one of those, because, I loved not going into restaurants and having food delivered. I still do.
Yeah.
And now granted, I have some health issues. And so going in and being around people is still a little spooky, especially because there you've got your masks off, right? And so for me to just be able to order with, Grubhub, Uber, or even, some of them just do their own delivery. I love that, and when I actually have to go into a restaurant anymore, I have the heebie-jeebies. But even when, the fast food places started delivering, I mean, you could get a Big Mac delivered to your home. I thought that was very interesting. And to see how so many of the restaurants, you talk about reconfiguring the back room, they reconfigured everything. I mean, they went to half the number of tables. They had to initially, but they really did reconfigure how they were set up. They rethought their menus. There's a great restaurant down the street from us that has had one of those 30-page menus, and all of that, and they couldn't do that, because and so they went down and they really thought about it. Went, okay, this and this and this are our most popular items. We don't need that anymore. It gets, and so they were able then to save costs because they didn't have a lot of that stuff just sitting around that never got ordered.
Well, a lot of this time forced companies to sort of really focus on what is really profitable.
Right.
Where's our core competency? But beyond that, right, if necessity is the mother of invention, we saw so many wonderful new innovations, new services that sprung up during COVID. What's really great about the food industry is they came to recognize that delivery was a huge profitable and a huge part of their future. Because we used to think, is there sufficient volume for us to justify delivery? Well, now it's all external services.
Right.
They'll figure out the pricing thing because it's a challenge right now, and they're losing that last mile from a service perspective. Grubhub delivers a food and you say it's cold or whatever else. That wasn't us. That was Grubhub. They're figuring all of that out.
Yeah.
But
Who do you complain to?
Exactly right. But here's one of the really cool innovations is what many of the restaurants realized was that there was such demand for their food, but they weren't everywhere. So now we've seen the rise of ghost kitchens, which is a huge,
the shared kitchens, ghost kitchens, all of those.
They create these buildings, these trailers, and sometimes they're cooking for 3 different restaurants. There is no public face; it's just for delivery, but it expands their geographic reach. And then one of the most interesting partnerships and the most lucrative partnerships is between public parking lot companies and ghost kitchen because they're taking the last 6 parking spaces in the back of these parking lots, putting trailers on them, and now they're delivering for Shake Shack, and they're cooking for all of those. I geek out on this, Deb. I just think this is the most fascinating.
Right. Oh, it's so fun to see how people are coming up with these ideas.
Yeah. And so what it's doing, it's allowing restaurants to deliver to areas where they don't have restaurants. Once again, who wins? We do.
Right.
And so, like I said, I geek out on this. I think it's fascinating, the ingenuity of how do we serve.
Right. You know, and as bad as COVID was, you know, it really did force so many changes. You know, or it forced him to, as you said earlier, it forced him to happen faster. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, I think probably we would have moved more into food, you know, delivery, things like that, because the big ones had done it, but then the little guys had to do it too. I mean, that was the only way they were going to be able to survive. And then people figured out, okay, well, travelers really love it. You know, that's when I do it the most. You know, when we're in a hotel room, I don't want to have to put my shoes on, you know, do all that stuff, go back out, find a restaurant. No, I'm going to have it delivered.
Service comes from everywhere, not just the hotel restaurant. Isn't that great?
I know, you know, and I get annoyed when I'm in a small enough place that they don't have a lot of delivery. I'm like, oh, you know, and it was really funny. We were traveling last weekend, and you know, we ordered from TGI Fridays, I think it was, and ordered this, you know, the meal and then dessert, and I should have thought of this. This is August. This is, you know, it's hot down here, but it didn't occur to me, you know, what was going to happen. So I ordered ice cream. It was this fancy ice cream thing. And so we get back the confirmation. Yes, it's on its way. And it's being delivered by this lovely young woman who is on her bicycle. Now, I just thought that was really funny because when you're tracking it, right, it's a little bicycle. I just thought that was cute. Yeah. But it's 95 degrees. And so my ice cream was a little soupy. You know, and so things like that, you know, now we had, you know, I put it in the fridge, I refroze it. It wasn't a huge deal. But that's another part of it. You know, we got it, and we got it fast. I mean, it was amazing how on her little bicycle she got.
You're also seeing new technologies for. I mean, like I'm in Dubai and others. It's all on motorcycles, right? But even for keeping things cold, I've got great new friends who have this phenomenal service in airports, and they're growing massively, called At Your Gate. And this actually started before COVID, but now they've accelerated in a big way. They literally deliver food to the gate. People are between flights. When you're landing in your flight and you know you've got a short layover and you don't want to stand in line, you go on their app. It's called At Your Gate, and you tell them where your next flight is. Right. You're waiting there with your family. They show up, and even better, some of them have a little robot that follows them around like little ducklings.
Okay, that's got to be here in Atlanta. You'd think it would be.
I would think it is. Look it up. It's called At Your Gate. Phenomenal concept, great company, and they're growing gangbusters. That and they said that their original big audience was the pilots and the staff.
I bet
that they
who don't have time to go.
Yeah, and so they deliver food from any restaurant within the airport right to your gate, and once again, I think if there's needs, if there's wants, somebody's going to fill it.
Right. Well, and that's the way it's always been. You know, Amazon went, people don't like to go to bookstores, so let's start buying and shipping stuff. You know, all of those things, and that's, you know, that is how we get innovation.
Right. And it doesn't even have to be something we don't like. Right. If somebody just says, I can do that faster, I can make that more convenient.
Yeah.
For all the things we have to do, I'm going to show you how to do it. I mean, the best ones, of course, for us are, you know, when you don't have to go to motor vehicles and you can renew something on your phone or things like that. But as we said before, I think the smart companies are providing options. I was at a conference, and invariably at all these conferences where I keynote, there's also some little prick millennial who's, you know, making twice my fee and wearing black T-shirt and jeans and a hipster beard.
No socks.
Sorry, did that sound hostile? No, these are great kids, but really great information. But I was at this conference, and there was a whole panel of millennial entrepreneurs, and they're sitting back, and they're all like, you know, tech, social media things, and they were talking about. They just kept saying, "Listen, nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore. You've got to be able to do this. Nobody wants." And we all sat there and just smiled at each other and went, "No, you don't want to talk on the phone."
We want to talk on the phone.
There are very few industries that are serving one generation. It's one of the challenges for business is that you have to serve multiple generations. You know, restaurants, there's the parents, there's the kids, you got to have the salad, and you also have to have the chicken nuggets. But for almost any industry, That's why omni-channel is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Can they do it through chat? Can they do a real person? I know there's labor issues is a real challenge, but anybody who's sort of absolute, here's the way it's going. Even when you look at electric cars or things like that, there will be a 50-year time period where we will be serving both.
Right.
At some point, there may be autonomous cars and they'll all be electric. That's probably a reasonable view of the future. But in our lifetime, there will always be internal combustion engines. Right. There will always, we're not just getting rid of all the cars on the road and making
and we're going to have to drive them.
Exactly right. There's a transition period for everything. But most companies serve multiple generations, and they have to have a customer engagement strategy that takes all of them into account. And when they are like we're going just QR code for our menus, it's just a bad strategy.
Well, and part of that is then they can say we can change our menu every day.
Right, and that's what they say.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And they can.
But so then what you do is you have combinations. You've got your menu that has your staple items on it.
Or put it on an iPad or something, right?
Yeah. And then you have paper that you can print your specials of the day on.
Sure.
And for those who really want the QR code, and part of why I like the QR code is I look at the menu in advance. And so then that's fun. I know, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to order this and this and this. But yeah, again, give people the options.
Yeah, I was at a conference and there was somebody from, I did a big keynote for Hilton Hotels, and I was going through their little trade show, which is sort of Hilton and their vendors selling to Hilton. It was fascinating. I mean, just wonderful company, great vendors. And one of them was talking about, this was pre-COVID, about 2 months before COVID shut everything down. And they were talking about how you could open your door with your phone.
I know.
Right. But of course, now everybody does it.
Right.
But I remember the guy saying to me, we're not sure how long it'll take to get 100% adoption and compliance. And I said, well, you don't want to. And he says, oh, no, that's our goal. I said, no, you don't understand. You don't want to, because that means you forced everybody to do it your way.
Right.
Right.
My mother wants her key card.
David Avrin here wants a key card, right? I like having the option, and I don't think I'm that much of a fuddy-duddy or a Luddite or anything else. I'm great with technology. My God, just give me an option, because even chat bots, which is just an electronic FAQ, they're getting better, right? They're getting smarter. My questions are never frequently asked questions.
I know there's some wonkadoodle thing.
Yeah, it just, I don't know if my questions are just bizarre, but when they talk about what's frequently asked, mine never are.
Right.
Give me an off-ramp. I'm the guy yelling, real person, real person, real person.
I had one the other day that I was doing, and I started with the basic stuff. I mean, but I could only get so far. And their chat bot, smart little thing that it said was, would you like to speak with a real person? Ding, 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 ding.
I've never had that. I would, it's my dream.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, and it said, there's a 30-second wait or whatever. Okay. Yeah. I understand that they don't have 5,000 people sitting there waiting.
But that's even advancement, Deb, is when they tell you where you are in line or your expected wait time. That's phenomenal. Remember, for so long, until the last couple of years, we were, please hold your, we'll get to you. Well, you have no idea. And then you're thinking, you don't know if it's going to be 2 minutes or 45 minutes. And you think, I got to go to the bathroom. I should have done this on my cell phone. And then you're tethered. And then you feel so bad. I feel so bad for customer experience people, because by the time somebody gets to them, they're already furious.
Right.
And today, people go from 0 to livid in 0.5 seconds. I ask audiences all the time, I say, anybody notice that your customers or clients are a little more impatient, a little more demanding, and they're all like, welcome to my world. Well, we all are, right? Yeah. And don't blame millennials. It's everybody.
It's everybody. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like that, and I'm not a millennial. And so,
I'm like that.
Yeah. We want it now.
My wife's a sweetheart. She's so patient with everything. She likes self-checkout. I hate it, because I said every item. There was one time, and I'm not proud of this, but I was so frustrated. I have this big cart of groceries. I can't get anything to scan right, and it's not working. And I'm looking around, and like, can I just get some help?
Yeah.
And there's staff there. And finally I grabbed the little scanning gun, and I started shooting everybody with it. And then I'm dead serious. And I started shooting the staff, and they're kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? And I just throw up my hands like, anybody, please, somebody. And nobody came over. And so I left. And I came home and my wife says, do you need help bringing in the groceries? I said, I don't have any groceries.
No, they're still sitting in the aisle.
She says, you didn't get groceries. And I said, no, I walked away. And she says, sir, and like I said, I'm not proud of this. I literally was halfway through and I was so worked up. And granted, this is me. I'm not always funny. And I just went home and she goes, you did what? I said, I left it. Like just right there. There was nobody to help me. I tried.
And nobody followed you going, sir.
I tried to make it funny and shoot people with a little scanning gun. And I got no help. And I just got in my car and I drove home. And I know, but I don't think I'm the only one that gets that level of frustration. Just give us options. And once again, I'm not naive. I know that there's conveniences. I know self-scanning is here to stay. And I know tagging your bags. But I mean, my God, when my son was born, and they asked if I wanted to cut the cord. And I'm like, no, I think you're more qualified. Thank you. No, I had done that, but I'm just like, I don't think this is my new boy, and I really like him, and I don't think I want sharp stuff around him, or at least not in my
especially
hands.
not in your hand, right?
Not in my hands, no.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you talk about is that we need to future-proof our businesses. And, yes, COVID accelerated things. We can see, we can have our little crystal balls and we can kind of figure things out. But how do we really make sure that, 5, 10, 20 years from now, we're still in business?
Part of it is envisioning, and there's a lot of clues out there of how business is going to be done. People talk about it, quality. At the end of the day, it's about quality. Get your head down and work hard. No, it's not at the end of the day. At the beginning of the day, it's about quality. At the end of the day, it's about competitive advantage.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's about being continually preferable in a vast sea of competitors. And so how do we future-proof? I have a great exercise that I do. Part of what I do is I keynote, but I also go in and spend full days with teams. And one of the exercises I do is about competing against yourself. So I say, imagine you were going to leave your company today. You go to the break room, everybody says surprise, and they say, thank you for all your service, and you have cupcakes, and you say goodbye to everybody and give hugs. But then you move across town and you open up a competing business. Pretend you're fully funded, but you're not bound by any legacy systems or policies or products or warehouse leases or equipment or even people. You got to start fresh, but you're going to start your company with everything that you know today. What would you do differently? How would you build that same business serving that same market differently today? How would you beat your current company? How would you beat other competitors? Would you even do the same kind? Would you just outsource? Would you cherry pick a certain part of your business that's the most profitable and just do that? Because the reality is disruptors, they have that freedom. Every new player in the marketplace, is provided there isn't a significant barrier to entry, they get to start from scratch. They're not stuck with all this stuff. So what I say is instead of waiting for somebody else to come and disrupt your business, disrupt it yourself. Because when it happens to us and we're scrambling to catch up because somebody else did something different or innovative or a different way of thinking, we call that disruption, right? By its very nature, it happens to us. But when we drive that effort and spur that conversation, we call it innovation. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It just happens. It's just who's doing it. Right? Disruptors come in and disrupt. We can innovate. So to answer your question about future-proofing your business, and like I said, it's fascinating when I do this conversation, is I have teams competing against. I mean, if you can figure out your own deficiencies, right? Don't you think your competitors can?
Right.
Or new players can? So that's how we do it. I think that's how we do it. We're continually saying, how would we do it differently? Would we do the same? Are there legacy clients or products or services, would we still do them?
Right.
And so it's a fascinating, and as long as we keep doing that, I think we stay relevant, we stay current, and we think about how business is going to be done, and we say, what do we need to do now to be ready for that 2 years, 5 years from now? So we're not just scrambling.
Right. And I always get a kick out of the people that say, we can't wait for it to be like it was before COVID. Okay, yeah, we don't want businesses to go, and all,
hugs.
But
maybe that's it. It's the only thing that's coming back is hugs.
It's like, no, it's not going to happen. And would we really want it to be? Because as we've been talking about, there's been so many cool innovations that came about very quickly, you know, and whether it's, you know, that now I get to work from home and I don't have to put shoes on, or, you know, I can do my own grocery shopping and all of those things without ever leaving home. I think we like this. You know, we are
Yeah,
getting pretty spoiled. But you had to make some pretty major changes. And I wanted to talk a
absolutely.
little bit about that in just the time we've got left, because you are a public speaker. You go in and you present, and, you know, and, you know, you travel like a billion miles a year on a plane, right?
Yeah.
And you're actually in the $1 million, I guess it's the $1 million, right? The Million
Million
Mile
mile.
Club.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you immediately had to go, uh-oh. You know, and of
Right.
course there was the uncertainty. It was, you know, when are we going to be able to go on stage again? What if we can't? What if we can't ever? So talk to us a little bit about how you went, okay, here's how we're going to go forward.
Right. And none of us were right about how long it was going to
Oh,
take.
no, you know,
You know,
it certainly wasn't the 2 weeks that they promised. I thought that
right.
was the funniest thing.
On March 20th, 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I had 143,000 miles booked
Mm-hmm.
on my calendar.
Uh-huh.
It was going to be my best year ever.
Yep.
6 countries. 2 days later, I had 0,
Mm-hmm.
just like everybody
Mm-hmm.
else.
Yep.
Now, whether anybody who, I mean, I travel on airplanes and present at live in-person conferences. Well, what went away?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for Cirque du Soleil, same thing for
Mm-hmm.
Broadway, same thing for country music. Anybody who makes their living in the front of the room,
Mm-hmm.
it was a big challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I pivoted quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually built a studio in my
Mm-hmm.
basement. I didn't need bells and whistles. I just
Mm-hmm.
needed to be able to do what I do. But what I had turned down virtual webinars for years. I didn't want to do for $500 what I get my normal fee
Mm-hmm.
for. I didn't want to do webinars. I'm like, I'm
And
not doing.
to be in a live audience, that's just the
Yeah,
cool thing.
but it wasn't an option. And so
Mhm.
I'm resistant. I mean, I'm telling you, my poor staff and my poor wife, I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm not a virtual, I'm not freaking, I'm not be a freaking
Mhm.
virtual speaker. Guess
Yes.
what, Deb?
Mhm.
I was a virtual speaker
Mhm. Yep.
because my kids like to eat
Yes, you have those bills to
every
pay.
day, 3 times a day or more.
Mhm.
And so
Because
I
they're
didn't have the
growing.
I didn't have the freedom. So there really wasn't a blueprint, as was true for so many businesses. So I built a little studio just so that I could do what I do. And I decided I'm going to stand up instead of sharing my screen.
Mhm.
And I put a 65-inch flat screen TV behind me. I got a Walmart,
Yep.
a good backdrop, and I did what I did.
Mhm.
And it was really successful. I did 87 virtual presentations during
Mhm.
COVID from my basement, but nobody would know. Looked like a cool Chicago loft
Right.
or something.
Mhm.
But people would say to me, sorry, a little bit of COVID cough here. People would say to me, I can't believe you did all that. I can't believe you did. And I said, I can't believe you didn't.
Right.
My
Mhm.
God, friends, how did you feed your family?
Mhm.
I've got staff. I've
Mhm.
got kids. I got three colleges I'm paying
Mhm.
for. And so fear is a hell of a
Mhm.
motivator.
Right. Right.
But I think I like to think I did it at a really high level.
Mhm.
I mean, the reality is I did 7 presentations between 1 and 4 a.m.
Wow. Yeah,
And
because they
people,
were in other parts of
because
the
right,
world.
they're
Mhm.
in Abu Dhabi, they're
Mhm.
in Johannesburg, they're in Mumbai, and once again, people would. It was kind of interesting to me how many people would marvel. I'm not a hero. I'm feeding my family,
Mhm.
and
Right.
I do. This is how I make my living, and
Mhm.
I love what I do, and I think I'm
Mhm.
good at what I do. But this is my livelihood,
Mhm.
and so people would say, "I can't believe you did this stuff at 3 in the morning." I said, "This is what I do for a living."
Mhm.
Once again, back to the whole idea of being ridiculously
Mhm.
easy to do business with.
Right.
People are like, well, don't you have life balance? I'm like, I'm not doing it every day,
Mhm.
but doing what I need to do. The amount of people that
Mhm.
huddled under their desk in a fetal position,
Right. And
I
wanted it
just
to be January of 2020.
right. And yeah, there's a lot of things that we would love to have,
Mhm.
but I take the responsibility seriously. I take the
Mhm.
responsibility to my clients seriously,
Right.
and
Mhm.
so what was kind of fun was we learned new ways of doing what we do,
Right.
right? But we also learned what doesn't work.
Mhm.
Multi-day virtual conferences are
Oh, no.
horrible.
Yeah. Mhm.
Horrible.
And it's funny because I might sit in a chair in a ballroom for 8
Multiple
hours,
days. Yeah.
but to sit in a
Oh,
chair in my office and
I'm
watch
throwing a tennis ball
online.
against the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people who are pushing this, it's a hybrid future, it's a
Mhm.
virtual future.
Mm-mm.
Those are the companies that make money doing
Right.
virtual
Mhm.
presentations. Now,
Mhm.
Now that said, this is amazing. You and I face to face,
Right.
different parts of the country, on different parts of the world. For my parents who have passed on, this is magic. This is magic.
Yep.
For you and I, it's Friday. Right. So what we saw for organizations, an opportunity to increase the amount of touches, right? To have more conversations. Salespeople freaked out at the beginning of COVID because they needed to be face to face. Well, you can be, but you just got to look at the camera. But how many people 2.5 years in if I see another palm tree and Golden Gate Bridge, I swear to God, Deb,
like,
I'm going to open a vein.
You can have a good background.
It's been 2 years.
Or they don't have it set up right. I did a conference call the other day with someone who I spent the entire time looking at his ear.
2.5 years. But there's and I don't mean to sound heartless. There is no excuse.
Right.
Oh, look, Jim's on a tropical island. He's got
no, Jim's not on a tropical island.
Not funny, Jim. It's not funny.
Yeah.
2.5 years. So once again, that's my whole thing. Those who embrace doesn't mean you have to have every bell and whistle. Just more touches, more conversations. Be ridiculously easy to do business with. If when communication is delayed, problems escalate. Right? We don't want to leave a message, right? The contact form is voicemail of the internet. Right? Give people options.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Dave. Once again, I
get so fired up.
I know. Such a great conversation. And I tell people, see, this is why I set a timer, because we would keep going all afternoon.
Yes, we would.
This is so much fun. And I wish we could solve all the problems of the world, but we try and make a good dent in things. But tell us how people connect with you and what are the services that you provide?
Sure. I'm everywhere online. Just look me up at David Avrin. davidavrin.com, Avrin. On Instagram, it's the real David Avrin, but that's a whole other catfish for another day. But
there's another one of you out there.
There's hundreds. It's pretty sad. I speak and I consult on customer experience. I help organizations, small businesses, others be ridiculously easy to do business with. And of course, all my books are on Amazon, and most of them are on audiobook.
Alvana again. Here we go.
Okay.
Here's the other ones I have.
The most current ones are Why Customers Leave and How to Win Them Back. And my new book, as you had said before, is The Morning Huddle, Powerful Customer Experience Conversations to Wake You Up and Shake You Up and Win More Business.
And we will have a link to that in the show notes, of course.
Outstanding. And once again, I'm going to say on behalf of your entire audience, congratulations on 800 episodes. Play the thing. And confetti as well. Monumental achievement. I encourage everybody, go to the page and look at some of the past episodes. Great conversation. And that's what's important. We got to keep talking.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's just so much fun. And I love, as I said, I love all my guests, but you are one of my favorites. And so I was so happy that we were able to have you on for number 800. Because it's always such a special conversation with you. And at some point I'll get back to Colorado and we'll have like a real cup of coffee somewhere and talk about our gray kitties. We both have gray kitties.
We do.
I know.
We do.
I know.
Anyway, thank you. It's very nice to see you, friend.
Well, do you have any final thoughts you want to leave everybody with?
I just probably I'm excited that after COVID, my favorite holiday is back, which is endless shrimp at Red Lobster. See, now we're just getting random.
I know.
It's endless. That's it.
Endless. Because you can't do that with delivery.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't. It's limited shrimp.
Yes.
Anyway, it was completely meaningless end of this wonderful conversation. And I will tell you, as an old friend, it's so nice to see you. It's so nice to see your success. And we both grew up in this business.
We did. And we survived.
30 something years.
30 some years. I know. So, holy cow. Which means we started when we were 4.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, and if you aren't watching the video version, I guarantee you Deb moisturizes.
Yeah. I live where it's really humid.
There you go.
And Zoom does have that filter. Right. Well, as always, such a fun conversation. I can't wait to do it again. And you come out with new books fairly often, and so we will do this. And I think talking about the customer experience is so important because it is the lifeblood of an organization. If you are not serving your customers in a way that they want to be served and the experiences that they're going to have, obviously you're not going to have customers, and then you're not going to have a business. So, I really look forward to the next time we talk with Dave. So I'm Deb Creer. I've been talking with David Avrin. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.